Chapter 27, I come to Mr. Rankeeler, the 24th of August. I was in the long street of Queensferry before the sun was up. It was a fairly built burg, or borough, the houses of good stone, many slated. The town hall not so fine, I thought, as that of Peebles, nor yet the street so noble. But take it all together, it put me to shame for my foul tatters. As the morning went on and the fires began to be kindled and the windows to open and the people to appear out of the houses, my concern and despondency grew ever the blacker. I saw now that I had no grounds to stand upon and no clear proof of my rights, nor so much as of my own identity. If it was all a bubble, I was indeed sorely cheated and left in a sore pass. Even if things were as I conceived, it would be in all likelihood take time to establish my contentions. And what time had I to spare with less than 3 shillings in my pocket and a condemned, hunted man upon my hands to ship out of the country? Yeah. That noise you're hearing is they're working on the bridge, I think. Truly, if my hope broke with me, it might come to the gallows yet for both of us. And as I continued to walk up and down and saw people looking askance at me upon the street or out of windows, and nudging or speaking one to another with smiles, I began to take a fresh apprehension that it might be no easy matter even to come to speech of the lawyer, far less to convince him of my story. For the life of me I could not muster up the courage to address any of these reputable burghers. I thought shame even to speak with them in such a pickle of rags and dirt, and if I had asked for the house of such a man as Mr. Rankeeler, I supposed they would have burst out laughing in my face. So I went up and down and through the street and down to the harbour side like a dog that has lost its master, with a strange gnawing in my innards, and every now and then a movement of despair. It grew to be high day at last, perhaps 9 in the forenoon, and I was worn with these wanderings, and chanced to have stopped in front of a very good house on the landward side, a house with beautiful clear glass windows, flowering knots upon the sills, the walls new harled, and a chase dog sitting yawning on the step like one that was at home. We haven't quite found a house like that, we've got a few suspects. Well, I was even envying this dumb brute when the door fell open and there issued forth a shrewd, ruddy, kindly, consequential man in a well-powdered wig and spectacles. I was in such a plight that no one set eyes on me once, but he looked at me again, and this gentleman, as it proved, was so much struck with my poor appearance that he came straight up to me and asked me what I did. I told him I was come to the Queensferry on business, and taking heart of grace, asked him to direct me to the house of Mr. Rankeeler. Why, said he, that is his house that I have just come out of, and for a rather singular chance I am that very man. Then, sir, said I have to beg the favour of an interview. I do not know your name, said he, nor yet your face. My name is David Balfour, said I. David Balfour, he repeated in rather a high tone, like one surprised. And where have you come from, Mr. David Balfour, he asked, looking me pretty dryly in the face. I have come from a great many strange places, sir, said I, but I think it would be as well to tell you where and how in a more private manner. He seemed to muse a while, holding his lip in his hand, and looking now at me and now upon the causeway of the street. Yes, says he, that will be the best, no doubt. And he led me back with him into his house, cried out to someone whom I could not see that he would be engaged all morning, and brought me into a dusty little chamber full of books and documents, and here he sat down and bade me be seated. He got a paper book out of a drawer and set it before him open, and, well, said he? But I had shot my bolt and sat speechless. Come, come, Mr. Balfour, said he, you must continue. Where were you born? In Essendine, sir, said I, the year 1734, the 12th of March. He seemed to follow this statement in his paper book, but what that meant I knew not. And your father and mother, said he? My father was Alexander Balfour, schoolmaster of that place, said I, and my mother was Grace Petaro. I think her people were from Angus. Have you any papers proving your identity? Asked Mr. Rankeeler. And that's the train. No, sir, said I, but they are in the hands of Mr. Campbell, the minister, and could be readily produced. Mr. Campbell, too, would give me his word, and for that matter I do not think my uncle would deny me. Meaning Mr. Ebenezer Balfour, says he? The same, said I. Whom you have seen, he asked. By whom I was received into his own house, I answered. Did you ever meet a man of the name of Hoseason? Asked Mr. Rankeeler. I did so, sir, for my sin, said I, for it was by his means and the procurement of my uncle that I was kidnapped within sight of this town, carried to sea, suffered shipwreck, and 100 other hardships, and stand before you today in this poor accoutrement. You say you were shipwrecked, said Rankeeler. Where was that? Off the south end of the Isle of Mull, said I. The name of the isle of which I was cast up is the Island Erid. Ah, says he, smiling, you are deeper than me in the geography. But so far I may tell you this agrees pretty exactly with other informations that I hold. But you say you were kidnapped. In what sense? In the plain meaning of the word, sir, said I. I was on my way to your house when I was trepanned on board the brig, cruelly struck down, thrown below, and knew no more of anything till we were far at sea. I was destined for the plantations, a fate that in God's providence I have escaped. The brig was lost on June the 27th, says he, looking in his book, and we are now at August the 24th. Here is a considerable hiatus, Mr. Balfour, of near upon 2 months. It has already caused a vast amount of trouble to your friends, and I own I shall not be very well contented until it is set right. Indeed, sir, said I, these months are very easily filled up, but yet before I told my story, I would be glad to know that I was talking to a friend. And that is where we'll leave it. There are a couple of other chapters which you should proceed on with on your own. But for me, this is the end of the journey and the end of the trail. Thank you for your company and enjoy the final 2 chapters. It's not a good end for Ebenezer, I'll just let you know that. Gosh, noisy around here, isn't it?